Welcome to Wisdom's Peaceful Harmony. I'm Dr. Lynette Wiest, and I will be doing several videos about relationship boundaries. But before I do those videos, this video is to explain some of the reasons that it can be difficult for you or for others to understand and express boundaries. Now, boundaries are about self-care. They are a way of defining who you are and who you are not in a relationship. So that they require a degree of self-understanding. And then, in order to implement boundaries, you have to express who you are to those around you. And this can feel vulnerable, but it is the safest way to be. And as you discover the boundaries that best help define you and enrich your life, then you will learn more about who you are. And in this way, your boundaries will become easier to understand and identify over time. And even if you're feeling uneasy about having and expressing boundaries, they are a powerful form of self-care. They protect you so that you can be your best self for yourself and for everyone around you. And they let others know who you are. Now, boundaries show the limits of who you are and who you are not. They show what you are willing to do and not do, what you think and don't think, how you feel and don't feel. And it is difficult for some people to understand boundaries. Many people have been invaded by others in traumatic ways. They may have had their bodies or their minds or their emotions or their time invaded by others. And so it can be really difficult to understand and believe and trust that one's body and mind and time and behavior and emotions really are theirs. And it also may be difficult to embrace the right and the responsibility to protect oneself and have boundaries. So it can be difficult to comprehend this freedom of creating your life in a way that is congruent and in alignment with who you know that you are in your heart. And it might be difficult to accept and respect your right and your responsibility to have your boundaries and to keep your boundaries to the best of your ability. Now, because some people have not enjoyed a life with healthy boundaries, it can be difficult for people to accept boundaries because you only know what you've learned and you only can really believe in what you've learned. So as you clarify your boundaries, you may notice that others develop irritation or anger. For example, if you have tended to always tell people yes, and the truth of your new boundaries is you saying no, then someone may try to cut you off or try to force you to defend your boundary. And you might even discover that some people will cut off connections with you to avoid their discomfort with your boundary. This is their boundary, and that's their boundary for now. You want to respect it. Respect their decision to have this distance from you. It is your responsibility to care for your life in your best way, and this includes asserting your boundaries even when it's difficult for others. Now, there are many reasons that it can be difficult to express boundaries, but I'm going to give you 5 of them. So first, expressing boundaries requires assertiveness. And you can subscribe and look for an assertiveness video that is on the playlist. Number 2, you may fear that others will be angry with you. It'll be okay. Number 3, you may fear that someone's going to try to argue with you. Again, it'll be okay. Number 4, you may think that you owe someone an explanation for your boundary and you don't have the explanation. You do not owe anyone an explanation for your boundary. You can give an explanation, but you don't owe it. It's you telling the truth of who you are. It stands on its own. You don't have to defend the fact that gravity exists. It just does. And you have boundaries. You are who you are, so you can't tell your truth. Now, you cannot put in place what you do not have, meaning you can't tell someone your boundaries if you don't know what they are. Don't expect others to know your boundaries or to know what your boundaries should be, or to know how they should be regarding your boundaries. It's difficult enough to determine one's own boundaries, much less figure out the boundaries of others. So look to the next videos for how to create and implement boundaries. But be sure to be clear with others so that they have full opportunity to respect your boundaries. You must love and care for yourself and your boundaries, or you will not be in a position to lovingly express your boundaries and respect others' boundaries. Now, expressing some boundaries may feel uncomfortable, but it's better than hiding them or hiding yourself or feeling resentful or feeling confused or overwhelmed. It's your responsibility to know when and how to care for yourself. If you have been using your energy to care for others and not to care for yourself, you may feel overwhelmed and depleted. And this can lead you to resenting and blaming others, which depletes you further. Now, if your past behavior didn't really have boundaries and it taught other people that you were willing to be depleted, they may be confused and have a difficult time adjusting when your behavior changes and when you're putting these boundaries in place. So it may take others time to believe your self-care is your responsibility and it is your priority. In healthy relationships, others will learn to respect your self-care and your boundaries. Remember, as you show the world the truth of who you truly are, you are loved. Others cannot love you for what they don't know about you. Now, if you would like to see more of these videos about how to decide and implement your boundaries, subscribe and look for those soon. Welcome.